Coming to you live from your nation's capital, Washington, D.C., Corey Lewandowski, Galactic Milky Way headquarters. Joining us now, my good friend from many years, John McLaughlin. He's a super pollster, and he's got his finger really on the pulse of these midterms. And John and I go back, I don't know how far, but it's all the way back to the Steve Forbes for President campaign in, when was this? Let's see. Was it not 80? Was it 92? Right? 96. 96 campaign, and Forbes had come from nowhere. McLaughlin was his pollster. Bob Dole was supposed to be the shoo-in. And in January, Forbes had a 10-point lead in New Hampshire. He was going to win New Hampshire. Now, he ended up winning Delaware and Arizona and got in play, but he was going to win New Hampshire. But then, who was the chairman? It's Haley Barbour went to McLaughlin, and they went to Forbes, and they were whining about negative ads that he was doing on Dole. He was going to hurt the party, and Steve Forbes, team player, took him down, and then Dole ended up, I think, winning New Hampshire. But had they kept him up there, I think Forbes would have been the nominee because he would have won New Hampshire. But that's just me. And the guy behind it all, John McLaughlin, who's with us now. John, it's been too long. Great to have you, man.
It's great to be back, and Buchanan won New Hampshire.
That's right, Buchanan won New Hampshire.
Dole, they complained before Iowa. We were right behind him in Iowa, and then Dole ended up pulling out Iowa closely, and Buchanan ended up winning New Hampshire, and then Forbes won Delaware and Arizona, and but by then the establishment ganged up on us.
I know, but I did get the story right because I do remember half of it. That Haley Barbour went to you guys and was whining about your negative ads, and you took them down. You should have doubled down and doubled them on Dole.
Well, it wasn't my decision at the time. So
I know.
But in the meantime, Steve, the good part is most of the ads we ran were positive. Steve raised a lot of issues that are alive today where he raised the idea of the flat tax and pro-growth tax cuts and medical savings accounts and term limits. And he really ran as a reform candidate that was really a forerunner of Donald Trump right now. So a lot of the issues that he raised are alive today and very well, and it would serve our country well if they acted on those things.
Absolutely. John, tell us about your association. Now, I know you're associated with a couple of things. You're associated with the Steve Bannon PAC. He told me that, and then also Job Creators Network. But tell me about what you see happening out there. You did a poll the other day saying things are changing because of the Kavanaugh situation. Can you share with our audience, John McLaughlin, what that is?
Well, sure. What it is that I think the whole Kavanaugh situation was more than just the Supreme Court. It was really a play by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats to try to win the Senate. And when you look at the field of Senate seats that are up, of the 35 Senate seats that are up this year, 26 are in states that are held by Democrats, 26 of those seats. And 10 of those seats, of the Democratic seats, are in states that Trump won in the 2016 presidential election. So midterm elections are decided by people that are coming out that may have voted in the presidential, but a lot of the people that vote in the presidential don't come out in the midterm. So when Trump ran, our strategy was to bring out millions of new voters that Mitt Romney didn't appeal to and get them to come out and vote for him. And so we got 139 million voters, which was 9 million more than came out for Obama-Romney. And those voters voted overwhelmingly for Trump, particularly in the heartland of the country, whether it was the Sun Belt or the Rust Belt. And in the midterms, you'll only get about 90 million people voting. So if the 63 million voters who came out for Trump come out more heavily in the midterms, the Democrats are going to lose a lot of seats for the U.S. Senate. So I think Schumer played a gamble to try to suppress the Trump vote, where if the Republicans get embarrassed and have to pull Kavanaugh, or if the Republicans don't provide the votes he needs to get confirmed, then the Trump voters would be mad at our own party and not show up. So if millions of Trump voters stayed home, Schumer would have a play to win the Senate where he'd keep his Democrat seats and possibly win Tennessee, Nevada, Arizona, and become the new minority leader, because the Democrats are really fighting hard to take over the House and make Nancy Pelosi the next speaker. And by the way, that the poll that you talk about, I poll a lot of times with Pat Caddell's bipartisan project. So Pat Caddell did a project with Steve Bannon where you could see in the numbers, Nancy Pelosi is still very unpopular. In September, she only had a 30% favorable number nationwide. She had a 55 unfavorable. And the vast majority of voters don't want her to become the next speaker. And, the Republicans, for whatever reasons, aren't playing that up the way they should. I mean, a lot of the House candidates will challenge Nancy Pelosi in their districts. But you really should have, when you think about it, you should have an agenda where she wants open borders. She wants to increase taxes. She wants to weaken security. I mean, everything she stands for is the antithesis to the majority of voters right now. And she is going to be the face of the Democrat Party if they take over the House. If they take over the House, Nancy Pelosi will be the most powerful Democrat in the country and in Washington. So
well, John,
that's what's at stake.
She has said on numerous occasions that she's going to be the speaker, and she said even the other day, let those people that are running as Democrats say what they want. At the end of the day, I'm going to be the speaker. I have the votes in the caucus. And it was like, do what you have to do to win, but then I'm going to be your speaker. We're with John McLaughlin. He's CEO and partner of his polling firm, and John has worked professionally as a strategic consultant and pollster for over 3 decades, about how long I know John, and he's worked on presidential campaigns, starting with our favorite, Steve Forbes, Fred Thompson, and many, many others. So great to have him with us. He was also involved in the Governor Nathan Deal campaign, I remember 2010, and I was covering that when I ran the Beacon in the Atlanta market, the newspaper there. So a lot of interesting things that he's been involved in, and now he's doing work with Pat Caddell and others to try to figure out what is going on in the midterms here. John, let's stay with the House a minute. So based on the generic polling, I think when Pat Caddell was on a couple weeks ago, he told me something. He said, for the Democrats to take control of the House, Pat Caddell said, the generic ballot has to be a minimum of 12. He said for them to gain the seats they need, to gain the 25 seats, to gain the House, because he said if it's under 12, what happens is a lot of those polls are in districts where the Democrats are way ahead, and in California, New York, etc. So he says basically it's got to be 12. Well, right now the Real Politics average has it about 6, right?
Right.
So what are the Republicans' chances now of actually keeping the House? Is it even possible?
It's still possible, but like we had pre-Kavanaugh, we released separately than Pat. We do our own monthly tracking national tracking survey, and it's on our website, McLaughlinonline.com. And so if you go to McLaughlinonline.com, you'll see these numbers. But with Pat Caddell, he's got a point. I don't think it's 12, but I think it's close to the 6, and they're right about there. We had a survey that when you compare August to September, we do 1,000 likely voters across the country. In August, they were tied 44-44 Republican to Democrat. In September, the day before the Kavanaugh hearings, we were down 4. The Democrats were ahead 46-42. The presidential job approval had fallen from 48 to 46. Now, the difference is since Kavanaugh, those Republicans that the Democrats were trying to depress and have not come out, the Republicans the Trump voters, have them not come out. They've been re-energized, and the pollsters have seen these come back into states where Trump won. Like we had a poll last week, where the Republican was ahead of Democrat McCaskill in Missouri by 8 points. There's been other media polls where Indiana's a dead heat, Montana's a dead heat. Everybody knows that Heidi Camp is down 10 in North Dakota, so she's going to lose. Joe Manchin must have polls, so he switched his vote. But on the House side, the Democrats, and the reason I say it's probably closer to 6, because the Democrats in 2006, when they took the House from us, they only got 52% of the national vote to 48. That 52 caused us to lose over 30 seats and lose the House. Now, 2010, we had a better reapportionment, but still, and a lot of the seats are in place, but a lot of the seats that are they're fighting over now are open Republican seats without an incumbent. And you also have a bit of the anti-Trump voters are more organically likely to come out than the pro-Trump voters, because a lot of our people think, the president's doing a great job. Jobs are being created. They think in the same poll, they say the economy is getting better, 57% to 32%. So some of the people don't realize what's at stake if the Democrats take over the House. And our voters were less motivated before the Kavanaugh hearings. Now they're coming back in, and you can see it in some of the polls. But you got 4 weeks to go, which is a lifetime in politics.
Yeah.
So the Republicans need to be a lot more aggressive and do a lot more contrast with what the Nancy Pelosi Democrats would do to this country versus what the president has accomplished.
28 days to go before the midterms. We're with a long-time noted pollster, John McLaughlin. You can follow his polling information. Go to McLaughlinonline.com. That's McLaughlinonline.com. So, John, if you had to predict now, 28 days out, based on the data you've seen, who wins the House and by how many?
Well, the House is uncomfortable. We're going to pick up Senate seats. It's pretty clear. The question is, how many do we actually pick up? Is it an underperforming gain of 1 to 2 seats, or do you pick up 3, 4, 5 seats? So the Senate looks pretty good because of the battleground, the number of Democrat seats that are up this time. The House is a much different story. With on the most generic ballots, the Democrats are ahead right now, and it's too close to call with 4 weeks to go. If the Republicans run a lackluster, get out the vote, no message campaign, we're going to lose the House. If on the other hand, they run a very aggressive contrast with what the Nancy Pelosi Democrats would do, I think we keep the House. But the difference is, in the same poll I referred to you from September 26th, although the Republicans were down 4 in the generic ballot, which is close enough to keep the House, when you ask them, do you approve or disapprove the job the Republicans are doing in the majority in Congress, only 40% approve, 51% disapprove. They're the real drag on this right now because they didn't get immigration done. They didn't get health care done. They have not taken up a lot of the initiatives the president wanted to do, whether it's paid parental leave, whether it's infrastructure.
Right.
The House has not gotten it done. So they really need to get out there and run this contrast, because what people don't realize is Nancy Pelosi's telling these guys, don't worry about, I'll be the speaker when you get elected, but you could do whatever you want to me. But they're taking millions of dollars in campaign contributions from Nancy Pelosi's run Democrat campaign committee, or even her super PAC. So the Democrats, when they get elected, they're going to owe Nancy Pelosi a lot, and they're going to vote radical-style things, including government-run health care, rolling back the Trump tax cuts, killing jobs. I mean, it's really going to be really bad if they take over the House again.
All right, why don't we go over these U.S. Senate races, because I agree with you. I think the House is basically whether or not the Democrats pick the 25 up they need. I think it's a toss-up now. They're going to pick up at least 20, and so they probably lead in those other 5 right now. So it's going to be very, very close. Or they could pick 35 seats up and win handily. Let's go over the U.S. Senate. Now, I'm going to give you the races. You tell me what you think. Let's start with the 2 states the Republicans have to hold: Nevada, Dean Heller v. Jackie Rosen.
Well, I think that one it depends upon if they get enough Trump voters out, particularly outside of Clark County, to be able, in Washoe County and other parts of Nevada, so that they're able to win that Senate seat and offset what's probably going to be a bit of a uptick in Hispanic voters. I was in the Trump campaign. I was the only pollster to get from primary day to election day with the president. But I had thought in the end, when I was going over the analytics with Brad Parscale and Jared Kushner in 2016, there was a surge of Hispanic voters, and we were playing that state. We thought it was a toss-up. But when I saw the increase in Hispanic voters at the end, I thought we were going to lose that seat. Same in Colorado. It was different in Florida. Florida, the increased Hispanic voters were Cuban, and they were more likely to vote for us. So Nevada's a real concern right now.
All right, Arizona Congressman McSally, is she going to win?
I think so, because she's the right candidate. What's really key is everybody thought she was an establishment Republican, and in the primary she embraced the president. The president likes her. She's the first woman combat fighter pilot. who happens to be in Congress and now running for the Senate. She's running against another woman who's a lot more radical, an open borders Democrat, which is not good in Arizona, Sinema. So I think McSally wins that one.
Okay, so let's go to the ones where the Republicans have a chance to pick up. So it looks like, based on what you said, right now, just in the hold states, they're down one. All right, Montana, Rosendale, John Tester.
I think Tester wins that one. The Trump voters come out. Tester early in the campaign was running an ad saying that he supports President Trump, and he'd lost some fingers in an accident. He was counting the number on his fingers, and then he ran out of fingers at some point. It was a cute ad, clever ad, if you supported the president, but he no longer supports the president. So I think he loses because the hypocrisy of what he's trying to pull off.
Okay, Missouri. Josh Hawley and the Democrat incumbent Claire McCaskill. Claire.
Yeah, she's going to lose. We had a poll out this week. She was down 8, so I don't know if she'll lose by 8, but she got hurt badly by her opposition to Kavanaugh. So Missouri voters are ready to throw out Claire. So
Florida, Rick Scott over the astronaut Bill Nelson.
What's really interesting there is Governor Scott is off the road campaigning because he's busy preparing for a bad hurricane coming in there, and that was a dead even race. But let's see how Governor Scott does with taking care of the real people who are going to be affected by that. Again, in the Panhandle is an area that in the Trump campaign we knew we were going to win 2-1, and we boosted turnout there. It helped us win the state of Florida. So. There's a real bad event with this hurricane coming in right now. So hopefully, our friends in Florida are taken care of, and the hurricane doesn't do that much damage. So, but that's a dead even race right now. And Rick Scott could win that, and that would really, just wipe out any plans the Democrats have to take over the Senate.
North Dakota, Kevin Kramer, Heidi Heitkamp.
We've had polls. We're doing work there for the Republican Jewish Coalition, and she's down 10. So Kramer's going to be the next senator from there. And what it's really about is North Dakota is one of those energy states where, while Obama was president, the Democrats were voting to, put climate control restrictions on and cut back on shale oil production and kill the Keystone Pipeline. So if you're doing well now because of the energy economy growing and doing well, you don't want to go back to those Democratic policies where you'll be looking for work and moving around. So, and you got the same thing in West Virginia. West Virginia is the coal state. I mean, there were people out of work. Mines were closed. People, you were left with an opioid crisis because you couldn't find a job. And so I think Manchin's in real trouble in West Virginia. And you could see that when he was the only Democrat to vote for Kavanaugh. So I think North Dakota is definitely going Republican, and West Virginia could. And the really interesting thing is in West Virginia, Manchin's daughter is affiliated and lobbies for the company that produces EpiPens and was caught price gouging. And now there's an EpiPen shortage where kids can't get them to go to school because if they have these allergic reactions, they can't inject themselves with whatever it is that would save their lives. And there seems to be some sort of phony shortage or of they haven't produced these EpiPens because they were price gouging. So Manchin may be caught in some sort of ethical family issue there.
I think Morrissey's going to win that race, John. I really do. I've been saying that for some time. I know all the polls show Manchin up. I don't see it. I think Morrissey's going to win. We'll see how it plays out. Okay, 2 more. Indiana, Mike Braun, incumbent v. incumbent Democrat Joe Donnelly.
Prior to the Kavanaugh thing, Donnelly was still ahead. He's perceived as some sort of moderate Democrat. But he voted for Gorsuch last year, didn't vote for Kavanaugh this year. Now he's in a dead even race. So that one's a toss-up.
Okay, and my friends are telling me that Bob Hoogan has a shot over Bob Menendez in New Jersey. I don't believe it. I'm from New Jersey. I know, John, you spent a lot of time there. Having grown up there, it's like, no way is Menendez going to lose. Am I right or wrong?
Where'd you grow up?
Madison, New Jersey.
Madison's voting for Hoogan.
That's about it, though, right? Yeah. Morris County.
Yeah. My youngest son went to Drew, so that neighborhood's going.
I went to I graduated and played baseball at Fairleigh Dickinson, right across the street from Drew.
Yeah. My son played basketball for Drew. That was their big crosstown rival. So,
yeah, well, they were. I mean, they were literally, just so their audience understands this, there were two major colleges, Drew University and Fairleigh Dickinson, and they were virtually across the highway. And so when I was at Fairleigh Dickinson, the big thing was the Drew girls were much better looking than the Fairleigh Dickinson girls. So we always went over there for obvious reasons. But that was then, and this is now. But we did play them in baseball, and I did shut them out twice. So I loved playing at Drew. Anyway, let's get back to this race. Menendez.
You just blew your Supreme Court nomination.
I know.
So,
I'm done.
So, anyway, no, but seriously, Menendez is upside down in all the polls. This guy Eugen has been running really good ads reminding people that Menendez was under indictment. His co-conspirator was convicted, and for some reason Menendez got off with a hung trial. And so, you know, if ethics and character count in New Jersey, Eugen could be the next senator and pull off a huge upset. So, but Menendez is upside down, underwater, where his unfavorables are higher than his favorables statewide. So, and it's because of that ethical problem that he had, where he definitely the fellow that the doctor Melgen that he was trying to do favors for with Medicare and other things ended up getting convicted, and in the meantime Menendez, you know, got off on some technicality, but the charges were for real.
Based on our conversation, I've got the Republicans picking up 6 seats: Montana, Missouri, Florida, North Dakota, West Virginia, Indiana, holding Arizona, losing Nevada. That gives them, according to my math, +5, right?
Well, that's all possible. I think some of those I'd hedge on Indiana and
West
you know,
Virginia.
maybe Florida right now. So you know, and definitely New Jersey. So 3 of those are, you know, dead even races. So you know, you got 4 weeks to go, and the Republicans have a chance to win, but they really need to be very aggressive during these 4 weeks to make sure that every Trump voter that voted in 2016 comes back out this time.
All right, John McLaughlin, great conversation. We got to have you back just before the midterms, John. Always a pleasure to have you on. We go back such a long time. I'm glad your oldest son went to Drew, although it's very expensive. It's very expensive, John, as you know. More information on his polling, go to McLaughlinOnline.com, McLaughlinOnline.com. Hey, John, thanks for being with us. Thank you, man.
John, thank you very much.